Honestly, it kind of clicked. I toured a couple colleges in Colorado, and I'm from Washington and Seattle, and I never really preferred to go there, but something about like just being here from what I saw on the tour and the way they staged it, it definitely seemed like a terrific college to go to.
All over the place. I looked at CSU, I looked at CU, I went to Appalachian State, I visited all over the country. I have family all over, so I think for CSU it just really connected with me. I loved Fort Collins and I loved the campus. I thought it was beautiful, the mountains around, just all that.
And just, I like the feel of it, and the people, the tour guides especially, seemed happy.
What has changed on a campus like this?
Yeah, so last year I definitely got out a lot more. This year I feel a little bit stuck in my room, but the campus was just always busy, blooming. I remember like every day when I would walk to classes, I would pass hundreds, if not more people. It's just crazy the amount of people that are always here on campus. But this semester, this year in general, just has been pretty empty, so there hasn't been nearly as much community engagement and nearly as much activities going on outside of like your designated living areas.
How do you think CSU has handled the pandemic?
Good, not great. I think that you can see that they have a lot of social distancing guidelines and restrictions in play, but it definitely could be better with there are a lot of factors that are in play that they definitely could have changed a little bit. For starters, their original tests aren't even FDA approved, but they do good with social distancing guidelines from what I can see, and they have good cleaning staff that are always around.
I think CSU handled the pandemic fairly well. I'm in dining and housing. I'm actually working as an RA right now. And so I think that for the most part, they've done a pretty good job with keeping rules, like with masks and social distancing and like the amount of people that can be in a room. But at the same time, it's also very hard to enforce those kinds of things. So I feel like they've done pretty good given the circumstances. Obviously, there are things that could be better, such as like better enforcement, but overall, I feel like they did pretty well.
Entire hall was exposed to COVID earlier in the semester, and we all were forced into quarantine. Some of us went into the hotels, some of us went into the dorms that were for COVID, and then some of us self-isolated. So I went down to Durango, and as soon as I got there, making that 7-hour drive, I got an email from Larimer County saying that my quarantine ended, I think within about 2 hours of when I had arrived. So that was pretty rough. It was just all miscommunication.
Now you bring up an interesting point with that. Do you think CSU has a lapse in their system and how they work out the quarantines and stuff like that?
Definitely. So I was told by 4 different people at CSU and through Larimer County that I had COVID. Each one of them thinking that they were telling me like originally like, hey, you have COVID, you need to quarantine. And that's because none of the departments at CSU talk to each other. So COVID housing doesn't talk to like the COVID health, doesn't talk with the testing centers. It's all separate and they all kind of work together, but none of them talk and communicate very well, especially not with the county.
And then let's talk about living here at Newsom. How's it been for you?
Absolutely awful. I wish that I could tell people that my experience here at CSU, my first year living in the dorms, is fantastic. You know, I've had these great friends that I've met through this hall, but when anyone asks me, you know, how was your first year, immediately I think about how terrible our living arrangements were. In my room, we have a leak that's actually been over my bed that started in September. And their solution originally was cutting a hole in the ceiling and then putting cardboard over it. And then that has evolved this semester into a bucket. So every night I move my bed out of the way and place the bucket so that it doesn't drip on my bed. And that's what I do every day.
Starters, living quality definitely hasn't been the greatest in Newsom Hall, and I understand that being as building as it is older than I think both my grandparents. But it's definitely really old and CSU needs to take departments of funding and add them more towards quality of life for students, because coming in as a first year living from an entirely completely different environment to this, I understand that there will be change for what it is, but from like random leaks in my room to losing power for 72 hours and getting the food destroyed in my fridge to ash on the windowsill because CSU doesn't provide HEPA filters for any living, it definitely could have been a lot better. Oh, yeah. So recently, actually, I was working at my desk and just, I forgot what class it was for, but I was working in my own business, and a bird actually hit the window and created a hole in the window, shattering the glass on multiple different corners, with glass falling if you touch it and if the wind blows, kind of thing. And my fix on the night of, it got really cold, but my fix was to put cardboard up and duct tape and try and seal the hole for what I could. It was a good, like, foot by foot hole. It was solid size, and I fixed it with cardboard for what I could, and did what I could because I was a broke college student living and just found cardboard in the trash. But the next day, CSU, I put in multiple maintenance work orders and said, like, emergency, like, can we get this fixed? Like, it's not hard to order a window, ship it. I've done it myself. You strip the frame and you reseal it, and it can be done from the inside with suction cups. Like, it's not like a full 2-day project. But CSU's permanent fix was to take a piece of plywood no bigger than the cardboard that I put up originally, and then seal that off with tape as well. So a big obstruction of a view that I just lost, and a no better sealant job from what I actually did with no money whatsoever. So they definitely didn't fund anything, and I can tell that they definitely really don't care right now about something like that doesn't affect the people that are higher up, but they don't realize how much it affects us.
Do you think they failed you in that way for your living quality and kind of put you at risk?
Oh, completely. I completely do. I mean, like, something like that has never happened to me, and like quality of life and the risk associated with that, like on the day that I taped up cardboard boxes, it got windy that night and multiple big pieces ended up falling through, and like, that's right next to my head. But thankfully I made the smart decision of putting my head on the other side of the frame, so it in theory could have cut my feet, and it was close to it. It broke up my lampshade that I had to get replaced, and I'm still not refunded for anything, let alone like all the stuff that's been ruined by small leaks and other damages that could be funded by CSU and stopped before they start.
And and I think another really bad part is our water fountain. Our water fountain got shut off in August, I think, honestly, like really early, because there must have been a leak in a pipe, because it leaks pretty bad underneath, and has not been fixed yet. Their solution was turning it off. Occasionally it gets turned back on, and when that happens, the leak actually gets so bad that it's actually started coming into our room before. Literally the water from the ground spreading into our room through our doorway. So definitely not ideal. And I know of other leaks in our hall as well.
From a student's perspective, I haven't experienced a lot, so I'm not sure what they could do better, but noticing little things about like staff if you catch them when they think nobody's watching, they're definitely not wearing masks even while they're cooking food, and like little things definitely. But I understand that if it's inside, like, and you're distanced enough, you can get away with certain things, but I just think as staff, you should definitely be following those guidelines, like, to the mark.
Previous to us living here and across the street from Newsome, they have building plans for the new hall. So I think at this point they're just waiting on construction and trying to make money in the meantime. I mean, everyone pays a stupid amount of money to come here, especially to live in the dorms. And I mean, even during the pandemic, when times are hard, there's no cuts for that. So I think that they're just trying to make money as best they can, and I don't think they care about this hall. I think it'll be torn down in a year or two, and it doesn't matter to them.
Full price, while we're struggling, we can't really find a job, stuff like that.
Exactly. I honestly don't think it's necessarily the most moral thing to do. I think that there are definitely better ways to go about it to make people happy while still, I mean, I don't think the university is losing money right now. Maybe they've made a little bit less due to the pandemic, but I think in general, I think just in general, it's not really fair of them to make us do all these online classes but still expect us to pay full price.
After looking into why CSU is still charging full price tuition, I found a message from President McConnell where she stated she intended to freeze CSU tuition costs from 2019 and 2020 for the 2020 and 2021 school year, saying it was the right thing to do. Still trying to find answers, I came upon the tuition and student fees page explaining how online learning is proven and effective for most coursework. I believe most students would say otherwise, and the university is doing the bare minimum to help their most important demographic, their students.